Okay, we're over here at the directions section of the wind awareness part of my hub pages, and we're going to give you a heads up on what you need to know about wind direction. So let's jump in here and get started. If I were to draw this arrow right here, didn't mean to draw it at that angle, but if I were to draw this arrow right here and ask you where the wind is going or coming from, or what wind direction we call that, what are you going to say? Well, most people tell me that this is a south wind, but actually we say where the wind is coming from, not where the wind is going to. So anytime you see an arrow online when you're looking at wind reports pointing in that direction, it's going to be a north wind. Okay? And then obviously if I were to draw the opposite arrow right here, this is going to be your south wind. And then you have southeast, northeast, any direction where you've got this arrow pointed there, it's going to be where it's coming from, not where it's going to. Okay, so this is only going to be important if you understand how it relates to the shoreline at which you're kiteboarding at, or in the location that you're riding at, because you're really going to want to know whether or not it's side shore, onshore, offshore, side offshore, because that's what's going to make your decision of whether or not you can kiteboard in the spot. So those are going to be really important terms to understand. So let's start off with that same north wind that I just drew. Okay. In relationship to the shoreline, which is the beach right here and this line right here, this line, in relationship to that, it's what we call side shore because it's running side along the shoreline. So this is still a north wind, but it's also considered a side shore wind. So let's just label that side shore. So side shore winds are really great because as long as the beach keeps going on, you're going to have a ton of room to ride in and you can go back and forth. When you kiteboard, you typically end up downwind if you're a beginner, but as an advanced rider, you can start going upwind and you can start staying in one place, and that's really the goal. So if you were just riding and you were staying in one place, then you're not going to really have to worry about if anything were to happen to you because you're going to get pushed downwind along the shoreline, and then you won't have to worry about anything else really because you can just swim right into the shoreline. And you'll kind of understand this better when I explain what can go wrong if you're kiting in situations where the wind isn't exactly that ideal. So if I were to draw an east wind right here, in relationship to the shoreline and the water, this is actually what we call an offshore wind. And that is pretty bad, especially for beginners. Because if anything happens to you, you're going to get blown downwind and you're going to end up into the endless ocean, basically. And the only way to get back is to deflate your kite, swim back against the wind, against the currents, against everything else, and hope that you get back into the shore. So we tell beginners to stay away from anything that has an off in the beginning of it, so side offshore or offshore. And simply a side offshore wind is just an offshore wind at a little bit of an angle. Sorry about that arrow. At a little bit of an angle offshore. So this is a side offshore wind. And it's kind of pointing in the direction of where the wind pushes you downwind. Alright, so I've completely ruined this whole little map, and now I'm just scribbling all over the screen. So hopefully you've kind of understood some of those things, and we'll take them along with you. Key terms here are going to be offshore, side offshore, onshore, side onshore, and just kind of quiz yourself on that. So I'll leave you with one last quiz. If I were to draw this arrow right here, what wind direction would that be? And what relationship to the shoreline does it have?